These niggas feel what jealousy. I'm doing good, that's what they envy me. This girl is in my memory. Oh, if I get your felony.
Yo, what is up, you guys? Sage here, and not too little energy. What is up, you guys? What is up, you guys? Sage here, and today we're gonna be going through How to Win Friends and Influence People. Great book, highly recommended for anyone and everyone. Not just a business book, just a people book. You know, a book on how to deal with, understand people, and why understand people is important. Not necessarily like the 48 laws of power is basically this, except there's intent, right? This is more there's intent, and it's typically with the intent of how to leverage people's tendencies to gain power, whereas this is more so just an understanding of people and how to coexist and have fruitful relationships with human beings, basically from start to finish. And the first thing that was in this book that stood out to me, so obviously, same format, we're going to be going through the notes. Who am I? I'm Omoy, sold supplements in high school. From selling supplements, read 15 now, business / self-improvement books. Thereafter, took action and started a personal training brand. For personal training, went to coaching, discovered a love for business. And here we are today, expanding our knowledge. And therefore, or henceforth, we are in this very moment. As we're learning, as I'm going on this journey, I'm taking you guys with me. First thing in How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, highly recommend this book, that stood out to me was, compared to what we ought to be, we're all half awake. I just thought that was profound. Thought I wanted to share that as well. Part 1, fundamental techniques in handling people. These are my notes on the book. The book itself is one thing. It's a 10-hour read, 10-hour audiobook anyway. And these are my notes that I took along the way. If you want to read the book, go read the book. This is just what stood out to me, and side notes that I made for myself, or that I made myself, are going to accompany this as well. So, fundamental techniques in handling people. If you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. If you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. People learn faster through encouraging good behavior than punishing bad behavior. Criticism of 10 doesn't gain of 10. Mass. Criticism often doesn't gain the desired change for the better, but often breeds resentment. Reinforce by rewarding good behavior for faster and deeper learning. A great man shows his greatness by the way he treats a little man. Humans are greatly driven by two things: sexual gratification and the desire to feel important. People's desire to feel important can work in your favor if we give them honest appreciation. Honest appreciation. Honest is a key word, because no one likes flattery. No one wants to be puffed up, and you can tell that, okay, now this person's just saying this for the sake of saying it. But we all appreciate genuinely being paid attention to, and someone paying you a genuine compliment. So you can use it to your advantage in that sense. Quote, I consider my ability to arouse enthusiasm among my people. This was said by the first man to be paid 1 million, on why he was able to get such a high salary, even though he didn't know as much as, say, the people who were working for him about the industry. Say, if you look at a Rockefeller, I believe, one of the Rockefellers was known as the king of steel, but he knew very little about steel. He had very limited knowledge in steel. However, the people who worked for him knew loads, and his ability was to garner that enthusiasm from his people to work as best they can for the company. And it's not only a benefit for the company, it's also a benefit for the people, because they find purpose in their work, and we all want to feel that we're fulfilling a purpose, and we all want to feel important. So, things to consider. Workers who knew me. Workers knew more about the industry than him, which is basically what I said. I am anxious to praise and never criticize. People do more work when seeking praise than avoiding criticism. Once I did bad, then I heard ever. Twice I did good, then I heard never. And this speaks on the tendency that we have not to address it when people are actually... We don't talk about the planes that landed, but one plane crashes and it's on the news for weeks. Don't take people for granted. Thank publicly and privately. Appreciation. Don't be afraid of the enemy who attacks you, but of the friend who flatters you. When people go out of their way to do something for you, for example, they do any work or behavior that you enjoy, let them know. Say you go to a restaurant and the waiter is just being nice and you enjoy the way that they're treating you. Mention it. Say, hey, thank you. I see you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And you'll find that people will gravitate towards you and everyone will have a more pleasant experience around you. And you'll have a more pleasant experience because people enjoy you and want you to feel good as well. Every man I meet is superior to me in some way. In that, I learn of him. In finding this, we can forget flattery and give honest, sincere appreciation. Be hardy in your criticism and gracious in your praise. Hammering down on that point again. He who can do this has the whole world with him. Bait the hook to suit the fish. Talk about what they want and show them how to get it when trying to get them to do something. So when talking to people, appeal to their self-interest. The only way to influence people is to talk to them in terms of what they want. How can I make this person want to do it? Secret of success is seeing things from the other person's point of view as well as your own. Focus on their wants, not yours, when dealing with people. The rare person who focuses on not their wants but on the other people's wants has an advantage and little competition. Arouse in the other person an ego want. Fundamental techniques on handling people. Number 1, don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Number 2, give honest and sincere appreciation. Number 3, arouse in the other person an ego want. Part 2. Ways to make people like you. A dog is the only animal that lives for free. You can make more friends in 2 months by being genuinely interested in other people than you can in 2 years trying to get other people interested in you. It is the individual who is not interested in his fellow man, who has the greatest difficulty in life and provides the greatest injury to others. Remember birthdays. Greet with enthusiasm. We take interest in people who take genuine interest in us. It is through understanding and practicing this that we can win friends and influence people. Become genuinely interested in other people. Smile. People are happy to see people who are happy to see them. Keep your mind on the great and splendid things that you'd like to do, and then, as the day goes gliding away, you will find yourself unconsciously seizing the opportunities that are required to fulfill that desire. A man without a smiling face should not open a shop. Your smile is the messenger of your goodwill. A smile costs nothing but creates much. There was also something in there that said, a smile is the only thing that can't be taken or stolen, but has great value and only has value when it's given. When someone smiles at you and they give you a smile on its own isn't really inherently valuable, but when someone smiles at you, then it means something. Names are important. People care more about their own names than any other. Call people by their names. Make a conscious effort to remember people's names and make a conscious effort to say people's names to them so that they feel acknowledged each time you're speaking. People will invest in their name being honored. This is a reference to one of the Rockefellers as well. wanted to sign certain deals with the opposition. I think there was a railway company, and the two were at odds. And then the way that they came to a deal is that when they sat down, Rockefeller said, or rather the opposition said, and what would we name this joint fund? Okay, so basically they were fighting over a certain industry. And it's either one of them was going to get the industry or the other. But either way, the industry needed a railway road to operate. They needed cars who were going to push the product, whatever the case may be. So either way, one of them had to do it, or they could both do it, is what Rockefeller figured out. So he went there, he said, I don't know why we're squabbling over something that means nothing. We could both become very, very wealthy doing this. And the opposition said, and what would we name this conjoined company? And he said, we would name it after you, of course. And just then, at that very second, open, warm arms, the man said, come to my office, sit down, man. Let's talk about this. This sounds like a plan, you know? So people who invest in their name being honored. People who invest in being remembered. Remember this in your future dealings. Remembering people's names is one of the simplest and most obvious and most important ways to garner goodwill. Good manners are made up of petty sacrifices. Listening and genuine interest are the highest compliments you can pay. Hearty in approbation, gracious in praise. And listening and genuinely being interested in what they say will soften any critic. And this goes back to finding that thing, because all men are better than you at something. So when you find that thing, you begin to learn about them. And when you're talking about that thing, there's an enthusiasm for that thing. And they will, even unconsciously, be grateful just to have an opportunity to share in their extensive knowledge of this thing. People prefer good listeners to good talkers. Let people finish their thoughts. Don't interject. Rather take notes. Talk about what interests the other man until they're talked out, and they'll eventually circle back to whatever it is you needed. Study briefly what they're interested in and take interest in that. People are interested in themselves, more interested in themselves than they are in anything else. So entice them, stimulate them to speak. Learn what you can about topics that they're interested in, or at least enough to ask questions. The Joe Rogan approach to things, or what's so enticing about watching Joe Rogan interview people is that he lets them talk, but he also knows enough to ask relevant questions. Whereas we're not spending half of the time trying to get a base level knowledge, trying to get them to speak the same language and understand each other. He comes in speaking the language of that person, and that allows things to flow smoothly. And you can take that approach when trying to deal with people. When you are approaching someone who you want to deal with, you can take that approach as well. Talking in terms of the other person's interest. Find something you genuinely admire about the person and bring it up. Always make the other person feel important. The deepest principle in human nature is the craving for appreciation. Acknowledge people's importance, self-actualized or not. Genuinely appreciate people and their tastes. Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. In a nutshell, become genuinely interested, smile. A person's name is the sweetest and most important sound in any language to them. Be a good listener. Talk in terms of the other person's interest. Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. And you never win anyone. Next one. You never win anyone through argument. When two partners always agree, one of them is not necessary. Anyone who takes the time to disagree with you is interested in the same things that you are. Do not defend or anger. Rather, thank them for their input and consider their points, because they may well be correct. Measure whether the action that follows will get you closer to or further from the desired outcome. The best way to win an argument is to avoid it. Men must be taught as if you taught them not, and things unknown proposes things forgot. Now, this particular line actually made me think about Xhosa culture in general, because KwisXhosa, KwisGyana, there's a certain level of a mutual respect that has to exist. In the language that we use, we don't say, no, you're wrong, here's what it is. We say, ubuye ukhumbule. Of which you may be directly contradicting what this person is saying, but the language you use is, brother, please come back and remember that. So I think part of Xhosa culture has captured this little quote here, which is, men must be taught as if you taught them not, and things unknown proposed as things forgot. I may be wrong. Let's examine the facts. When you're correcting someone, this is a great way to come in by saying, hey, listen, I may be wrong, but here's what I think. And here are some facts that make me think what I think. But I could be wrong. You convince me. Maybe I'm wrong. So the person will be more open to the idea, because when you directly challenge them, it's more so, they take it more so as a challenge to their intelligence, a challenge to their critical thinking, and you're saying that theirs is less than yours. So that is to be avoided when you want to win friends and influence people. People are likely to change on their own, but will resist and hold firmly to ideas when they're challenged. As the word my is the most important word in human affairs. 1, use a little democracy. 2, admit when you're wrong quickly. It raises one above the herd to admit to one's mistakes. If you're wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. A drop of honey catches more flies than a gallon of gall. Begin in a friendly way. Get the opponent saying yes. Listen. Let the other person do a great deal of the talking. Let the other buy themselves in rather than trying to sell them. Remember that you are looking for the result more than you're looking for credit for the result. So instead of looking to be a salesman, I'm looking for you to buy this. Whether you buy it because I said or because you think is irrelevant. What is relevant is the result. That's what we're solving for here. Remember that the other person may be totally wrong, but they don't think so. So don't condemn them, and try honestly to understand them. Prefacing by saying what you'd want to hear if you were the listener. So before, as you're beginning to speak to someone, preface by saying, hey, listen, I may be wrong, no, because that's what you'd want to hear. If I'm the wrong party and you're coming to me and you're trying to correct my thinking because my thinking is incorrect, don't come in and say you're wrong, because then I'll just fight you, because now you're just fighting me. You're attacking me personally. If you come in and say, okay, listen, brother, me personally, I also used to view things the way that you view them now, and I discovered these facts, and that slightly changed the way that I believe. Maybe you can win me back to your point of view, or perhaps we could examine these facts. Do you see? Because this is what you'd want to hear as well. You want to allow the other person to save face, which actually comes back later on in the book. Try to see things honestly from the other person's point of view. If I were you, I'd feel exactly the same, is the key to sincere sympathy. Be sympathetic with the other person's ideas and desires. People have 2 reasons for doing things: the reason that sounds good and the actual reason. Appeal to the reason that sounds good when you're trying to get someone to do something. Dramatize your ideas. Visual representation for impact. For example, if you say, we're losing $1,000 every time you do this, when you say it, it's one thing. But if you actually grabbed a stack of 1,000 and you threw it out the window as you were saying it, it will really hit people differently. Even though it's the exact same thing, dramatization and visual representation gives impact. Stimulate competition. Throw down a challenge. When you are, for example, trying to influence a group of people, the dramatization comes in, as well as the stimulation of competition. For example, let's say you have 2 sections, you have 2 people who are not performing at all. An example is they went into a factory, there's a factory worker, and the big boss came in. drew on the ground. Drew a 6 because they had lost 6 cars that night. The next morning, the morning shift comes in. Then they're like, what's that 6 about? Oh, last night the other guys lost 6 cars. It's like, yo, okay. The guys work. They only lost 1. 6 turns into a 7. The night shift guys come in, they say, oh, raw, they only lost 1. Oh, so they think they're better than us. Swear. And that became the best performing division in all of the company, whereas it used to be the worst performing one because they just didn't care, because they weren't stimulated. So throwing down a challenge really does shape people in a different way, and it brings a different side out of people. In a nutshell, the only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. Number 2, show respect to the other person's opinion. Number 3, if you're wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. Number 4, begin in a friendly way. Number 5, get the other person saying yes. Number 6, let the other person do a great deal of the talking. Number 7, let the other person feel as if the idea is theirs. Number 8, try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. Number 9, be sympathetic with the other person's desires and ideas. Number 10, appeal to the noble motive. Number 11, dramatize ideas. Number 12, throw down a challenge. Part 4, be a leader. How to change people without arousing offense or breeding resentment if you must find fault. Praise good points before bringing up whatever you'd like to see improved. We tend to be more receptive to criticism after praise. Second point, replace but with and to make criticism more relatable. An example, Timmy, you did really, really good in school and in all your subjects, but if the math was slightly better, then you would have been able to achieve this benchmark, and that would have been really good for you. Versus, oh, Timmy, you actually did really, really good. And if you improve this math a little bit, then you're going to be able to achieve saying the exact same thing, but just because you replace that word and change the tonality a little bit, it changes the mood of the entire sentence. And the person no longer feels under attack, but they feel like you're on their side and we're both trying to solve the problem. Whereas in the previous one, it's more so me criticizing you. Call onto mistakes indirectly. When necessary, talk about your own mistakes. I'm actually only human, you know. I've also made that exact same mistake in the past, and the resulting things weren't that good for me. So yeah, no, I would avoid that. I definitely would avoid that. But hey, I'm just trying to. That type of language versus a direct, listen, you're wrong. That's wrong. Stop. Because people are naturally resistive to dictatorship. Humility and praise. Rather than give orders, present options. Ask questions rather than giving direct orders. Hey, do you think you could pass me that remote over there? Give me the remote. Give me the remote. No matter how you say it, that's a direct order, and it just doesn't roll off the tongue the same as, hey, do you think you could, or if I asked you to, would you, suggesting more so, and it's their idea, it's up to them, they want to do it for you because you've asked them nicely, and it's not that much of an inconvenience for them to do it in any case. Let other people save face. I have no right to say anything that diminishes a man in his own eyes. That's something that I believe a bunch of human interactions would all be a lot better if we woke up every day and thought to ourselves, I have no right to say something that will diminish a man in his own eyes, their self-esteem. Praise is like sunlight to the warm human spirit. We cannot flower and grow without it. Use praise to affirm positive change. Specific praise comes across sincere. Give a person a fine virtue to live up to, and they'd rather adjust to fit the virtue than have you be wrong about them. Hey man, I know you're a leader, and I know you're a person of incredible ability and great aspiration. If you could manage this team for me and get this task done, I would greatly appreciate it. And they themselves will rather adjust to fit that high standard that you've set for them, then have you be wrong. Give a dog a bad name and you may as well hang him, but give him a good name and see what happens. Give titles and authority. In a nutshell, be sincere, know what you want them to do, ask yourself what they want, consider the benefits the person will receive from what you suggest, and match those benefits with their wants. When you make a request, let them know how it will benefit them. Make the other person happy about doing what you suggest. Being a leader and changing behavior in a nutshell. Number 1, begin with praise and honest appreciation. Number 2, call attention to their mistakes indirectly. Number 3, talk about your mistakes before criticizing the other person. Number 4, ask questions instead of giving direct orders. Number 5, let other people save face. Number 6, praise the slightest improvement and praise every improvement. Hearty in your approbation, lavish in your praise. Number 7, give the other person a fine reputation to live up to. Number 8, use encouragement. Make the faults easy to correct. There's a person went into a dance studio. The first teacher said, yo, bro, your technique is all wrong. This was all terrible. You're going to have to learn so much. Went to the second teacher. The second teacher said, it's a classical type of style, whereas what you're looking for in this music is more so this and that. You do have a natural rhythm. And if we just tweak these things, then you'd be able to get to where you want to go to. Now, the second person may be, as far as the recipient is concerned, that second teacher may be lying out of their wazoo, but they would rather hear that, and that will encourage them to actually do the things that are required for them to move forward, than to hear there's going to be a long journey and it's hopeless for you. People need hope. Give them hope. Make the other person happy about doing what you suggest. Part 5, letters that produce miraculous results. Ask your opposition to do you a favor to make them feel important. It must be a sincere and honest request for their expertise in a way that'll actually help you. Part 6, 7 rules for making home life happier. Now, this is more of a marriage section. So, hey, if you so far you've enjoyed, thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye if you don't care about this. 7 rules for making home life happier. Number 1, nagging brings nothing but tragedy. Don't nag. Number 2, don't try to make your partner over. Don't try to change them. The first thing to learn in intercourse is not to interfere with other ways of being happy, provided that those ways do not interfere by violence with yours. So if they have their own ways where they make themselves happy, and those ways don't interrupt the way that you make yourself happy, if those two things can coexist, then don't interrupt them. Number 3, don't criticize. There's a poem. The poem is called Father Forgets. Father Forgets is about this man who is constantly, he criticizes, and his son is nothing but loving toward him. And at the end of that day, the son comes up to him and he's hesitant. He goes up, he runs and he hugs him. He's like, I love you, Dad, good night. And then he runs up to the room. And when son goes up, even when the son actually goes to come in, the father looks down at the newspaper because you're interrupting. What do you want? Son comes through, hugs him. Bye, Dad. I have to go to sleep. After a couple of moments, the father drops the newspaper and he thinks to himself, man, because all day he's been like, don't pause, stand up straight, walk right. Why are you kneeling, playing marbles? You're ruining your pants. Why are you doing this? Don't do that. But still, at the end of the day, son comes up to him, he hugs him, and the lesson in it, or the takeaway message is, or what he says at the end in closing is, Father forgets. Sometimes he sees you as the grown man that I want you to be, and I forget that you're still a learning boy and living in a different time than I did, and you're learning different things. And I forget that at your core, you're good. And in my constant criticism, I'm actually attacking at that core rather than fixing the things that I'm trying to fix. So tomorrow, I'll be your friend. When you're down, I'll be down. When you're up, I'll be up. And we will find each other in that way. And along in that sense, we will begin to correct whatever needs to be corrected, but coming from a loving perspective rather than a dictating perspective. The poem Father Forgets. It's beautiful. Give honest appreciation. That's number 4. Number 5, pay a little attention, genuine attention. Number 6, be curious about the other person, their interests, their wants, etc. Failure in marriages are typically caused by, first and foremost, sexual maladjustment. Number 2, difference in it. Now, these may be quite outdated, but number 1 back then was sexual maladjustment. Number 2, difference in opinion in ways of spending leisure time, so ways of spending free time. If you disagree on that, then you might break up. Number 3 is financial difficulties. Number 4, mental, physical, emotional abnormalities. Number 7, read a good book on the sexual side of marriage. So, in conclusion, don't nag, don't try to change the person, don't criticize them, give honest appreciation, pay attention, be curious, and read a solid book on how to understand the person better, how to show up for your person better. Basically, learn your person and make sure you're showing up for them every day. Small tokens of appreciation, etc. That's pretty much it. Kind of ended on a low there, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't want to hear that. But I think this book is ultimately, like I said, I do recommend it. It's just ultimately a fantastic book on understanding people, the psychology of people. And ultimately, what it's about is be more kind to other people. Not simply for the sake of being kind, but be kind with understanding, and approach relationships and people and different scenarios with understanding. And in that, we will find each other. This goes from business to friendship to you're the boss and you're talking to the people who work for you. You're the person who is working for and you're talking to your boss, etc. In that kindness, in those mutual languages and that mutual understanding, we find each other. I've been Sage. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Sage, signing out.